How to make a friendship bracelet, single loop or 4P pattern with the loom. What you need is your loom tool, 2 tapestry or yarn needle, 2 colors of yarn, 15 inches of warp, thread, and scissors. Let's get started. Okay, so what we'll do in this first step is we'll take your warp string 15 inches, and we're gonna cut 3 feet of each of these 2 color yarns. And then about 5 inches below the tail, I'm gonna make 2 knots with it, with all 3 yarns. You can make a single knot as well. I just like 2 because I think it's pretty and it's quite decorative. Okay, I accidentally make a little gap there, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to hide it by making another knot. So it'll be 3 knots altogether. Okay. Now what I'll do is I'll cut off the yarn, but don't cut off your warp string. Okay. Now you're going to warp your tool. I'm going to secure the knots in front of the notches, wrap this around, and as you warp your string, I'm going to actually take the yarn, one color one side, the other color the other side. Make sure it's pretty taut. Wrap it around your tool, secure it. If this becomes loose as you make your pattern, you could just undo it and re-secure it at the bottom. It's really nice to have a taut warp there. Now you're gonna thread both yarns on both sides. And we're going to start. So how you do this, sometimes we call this the 4P because you're basically forming a 4 here, or we call this a single loop. So you basically take this yarn over with the needle, go underneath and over the other side. There's several variations of this as well. You could go in the opposite way, under, over. You might see that, just want to let you know. But in this case, we're going to follow that same pattern on the other side. You could also double up or triple up your pattern too. Okay, again, over, under, over. And as you go, pull tight. I'm using a really thin yarn here, but if you're using worsted weight or a chunkier yarn, this will knot up really quickly. But also sometimes too, if you use thick yarn, your pattern actually will start twisting, almost like a helix. So just to let you know, you're not doing anything wrong. That's just how the nature of fiber goes. The thin yarn here stays pretty flat and nice. Okay, again. Over, under, over. Pull. Your tension is pretty important here, especially when you're working with finer yarn, because then it begins to show. If you're working with thicker yarn, sometimes it could hide those inconsistencies. When I do this project with kids, sometimes I like to use nylon cords because they're super forgiving, really easy to use, slightly thick, and never really tangle up. But I think beautiful yarn just makes such gorgeous friendship bracelets. They're really special. Okay. Let me go over the knots one more time on each side, and then I'll show you how to close this out. Okay, again, this is your 4. So going over, under, and over. This is your P, over, under, over. Okay. So now working down the entire warp, I've done a piece earlier today. So this is what I have. So now when you're ready to finish, just remove this from your tool. And then tie your knots to close it out. Okay, and you're going to cut your yarn here, but not your warp. Here is your 4P or single loop friendship bracelet.